So here I was sitting on the couch, enjoying, almost planning to look at a quilt pattern. Oh, look, another foot has emerged. And I got pushed out of the way because somebody wanted to burrow into the quilt. So I also haven't been able to change the quilt on the couch yet, but somebody is enjoying her little fort. Should I go back to sleep? Oh, maybe not. So I guess someone's going to stay here, and I'm going to go start working on making Christmas quilt blocks. So here's how the square piles have kind of commingled, and my half square triangles are still separate-ish, but here is block 13 and block 17. So I wanted to kind of lay out those side by side since they would be touching each other. So I think I'm gonna have a hard time doing scrappy, but I'm trying to think not a lot about it and just go for it. So I'm gonna start sewing these all together, and then hope by the end of this video we either have all the blocks complete or a quilt top complete. That would be ideal, but with this kind of laying out, we'll take what we can get. So here are those two blocks finished. They're not connected together yet, but at least that's 2 down out of 20 something blocks, I think. So I am quite pleased with how this turned out. Even like with the red next to red and green next to green, they all still have that nice scrappy feel. You may have seen me sewing with these pins and wondering what the heck they were. These are the fork pins from Magic Pins, and they are 2-prong. So then, since this pattern had me press my seams open, which I don't usually do, I use them to lock the seams into each other, so then I knew they would be all lined up, and then I just sewed right over them and pulled them out when it was done. So the only thing I'm debating doing now is doing like a stay stitch, 1/8 of an inch around the outside, but other than that, I'm going to go ahead and keep making blocks, so we'll check in when I have all my blocks done. So I was fully prepared to be like, yay, I got this all done in one day, but it did not. I have 1, 2, 3, so my top row's done, and then I've got this one that needs to fill in there to finish that way. I am over halfway, so there's that. So I've got these bigger snowflake chunks done, but the good news is I have the next chunks all laid out, so let me show you that. So these are the remaining 9 blocks that I need to piece. These 3 sets are the ones that are just the blank square. These ones all have bits of snowflake in them. I did have to cut a little more red and green because once I got to these ones, I had no variety left. Like, it was down to a lot of the whites, and I wanted less of those than I actually had cut. So I threw in some other ones, but I think it's all going to come together really well. So for reals this time. I'm gonna check in once I've got all the blocks done. So 2 full days of the only time I'm home, I'm sewing, and this beast is done. Well, not done. It's in blocks now. So there's 20 blocks, so there's 5 across, 4 down, because they're 4 across, 6 down to make the blocks. So now I'm just gonna go for it. We're gonna sew our rows together and then sew our rows together that way. So blocks together, rows together, and we're gonna have a finished quilt top because I wanna get this quilted and done. Well, it was pretty much 2 days straight of sewing and sewing and sewing and sewing and sewing, and maybe sleeping a little bit. It was too hot to sleep, but it's all done and I love it. My design wall, as you saw, was kind of a little overrun by some boxes and bins right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay this out on the floor in the living room so you can see it in all its red and green Christmassy glory. But I've already told myself, I'm like, so I have to give this away. And at the same time, I was like, no, the whole purpose was to make this for somebody. That was my plan last year when I thought up this project. And so, yes, I'll still give it away. I promise I'm not going to change my mind and keep it for myself and let them eventually see this and get crushed by that. So this is still going to go to its intended recipients. But now it just makes me want to make one for myself. And it's not even done and quilted yet. So let's go lay this out in the living room so you can get the whole overview, and then we're gonna be quilting it. It's crazy how fast that went. So here it is in all its glory and is currently being Trixie tested, but looks so good. Like even with the white like sprinkled in there, some of the colors did kind of get clumped together, but that's totally okay with me. Like, it was an organized scrappy, but then once it came together, it definitely, like, you're right in the center. What a good placement for you, right in the middle of the snowflake. And so it's so good, so good. I'm so excited to get this quilted and all put together and figure out how I'm going to do one for myself in the future. So I'll give you a little up close of each section and then we're going to quilt it.